Welcome to today's episode of Speak the Universe Listens. Today's topic is the beauty of our mistakes. And I have Stephen joining me. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we're talking about mistakes today.
Yes.
Yeah, so what do you have to say about mistakes?
Oh man, I wouldn't be where I am if if it wasn't for my mistakes. For the most part, though, I would say just with mistakes in general. A lot of us, we sit back and we want to be perfect. Everything that we do, even when it comes to our success, our careers, everyday life, whatever it is that we're doing, we want to be perfect at it, right? And I learned in my life that nobody is perfect, and we all make mistakes. But with those mistakes, sometimes people beat themselves up, just because they messed up. Playing sports in a game or something, or whatever the situation may be for them, and they just beat themselves up so bad, but fail to realize it's something within that mistake that you can learn from, but it's just the way that you proceed. So let's just say, for instance, with me, I learned with opening up my own business, right? I did it in 2016. I have failed 3 times. I failed 3 times, and within that 4-year time frame, I have made mistakes. And so those mistakes that I have made, I sit back and I was like, man, I remember I did that because I went this route. So now the next following year comes along, well, let me try this way. The only reason why is because of the simple fact I learned from what I did before. So if anything, I think just looking at our mistakes as something as to where it's a lesson within it that we can take from it in order to make ourselves better moving ahead in life. So that's the biggest thing I can say as far as like with our mistakes.
So give us an example of, you say in your business, for example, you made mistakes first time around, and then you're like, okay, this time I'm gonna go a different way.
Right. Like, but my first thing was not being fully prepared for what it was that I wanted to do, because I wanted to go with my business. I wanted to do one route, and it was just supposed to be like moving. But then I started to put everything else in there to add on that I could possibly do, instead of just taking that step to perfect one thing first, then sit back and then add on everything else. So I lost a lot of clientele. People were a little shaky about me. I'm like, well, what is it exactly that you do? So I had to learn from that. And I was like, oh. Then when I look back on it, I was like, okay, so now moving forward, let me go ahead and focus on this aspect of my business, perfect the craft, and then after I do that, I can add on to it. So that was something that I learned. But like I said, and the biggest thing was just sticking with it. There's been times as to where I got scared at the very beginning because the stability. So used to sitting back and having that safety net, and when that safety net is gone, all I got is me. So I had to really have a strong mindset and know that, you know what, you got it. And my mistake was not believing in myself to the fullest. That was another mistake that I made. And so moving forward in the present moment, I believe in myself fully. Do I make mistakes? Yeah, I make mistakes, but I don't make the same mistakes that I made back then. So I would tell anybody, don't beat yourself up. Learn from your mistakes, what you made from your past, in your present moment. Look at them as like, what is something that I can take out of that mistake and use it like as a lesson. What's the lesson within it, basically, that I can take from that? So with our mistakes, they're a beautiful thing. They're not that bad, but I don't say, hey, go out here, go make mistakes, willingly. But for the most part, just looking at it in a total different light.
Yeah, so that's interesting because when you brought up the topic of mistakes,
Right.
I was like, I can't think of any mistakes.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, like I know that I make mistakes like in everyday life, like oh shoot, I dropped this, I dropped the vase on the floor or something like that. But in terms of like something, I guess that I hold, I can't think of anything that I've done and then I'm like that I hold it.
Okay.
And so one of the things that you said was we try so hard to be perfectionist or something like that, or to be perfect. And I think maybe that's why I don't, because I don't try to be perfect. So I am a perfectionist, if that makes sense. I'm a perfectionist, but I'm okay if it doesn't, pan out as such. So I think, like, I guess what I'm saying is when I'm processing the whole thing of mistakes, my perception of it is not anything that's detrimental. Like, so I never thought like, oh God, I made a mistake and therefore, like, it just never affected me. It's like, okay, it's okay. Like,
and that's how I always been. Like, for the most part, like when I made mistakes, I never really got too down and out about it. But I knew that I did mess up somewhere. So I said, you know what? Okay, all right, let's move forward. I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna learn from it. I'm just not gonna repeat the same, the same mistake over. But yeah, I would say it's been many a times as to where, cause I'm a perfectionist to a certain degree. I want things a certain way. But I would tell anybody, just don't really look at it in a negative sense, because a lot of people probably would beat themselves up if it's something, really that big of a deal. But for the most part, just reevaluate it, take what you can from it, learn from it, and then better yourself from it. Because I learned that my dad used to always tell me, said, you repeat the same mistake once. If you repeat it once, then apparently you haven't learned what you needed to learn yet. Something to that effect. Yeah, something to that effect. But I always thought about that because there's a lot of things in life, as far as like a cycle, patterns that always happen, and I try to sit back and figure out like, why is this pattern still happening? And it still keep going, but it's just in a different situation. And I thought about it. I was like, okay. So apparently I ain't learned what it was that I needed to learn because I'm still going through it. So when I finally did, it was like, okay, got it. Yeah, I got it. I didn't beat myself up. Just said, I got it. Move forward and just made the change that I needed to.
And I would say, like, from a spiritual perspective, I would say there's no such thing as a mistake.
Okay.
Because I do believe that everything that happens is happening for us. So whatever appeared to be a mistake, like you said, is something that you're to learn from that. And it may just be, the mistake may be showing you the direction that you need to go in.
Right.
So like sometimes, let's say, this is a far out example, but let's just say if you got into an abusive relationship, for example, and then you're just like, oh my God, how did I not see that this person was abusive, and so forth and so on, and then you just like kicking yourself because how did I miss all the signs, and how did I stay so long, and how come I wasn't able to pull myself out, and you start feeling a certain way about yourself or whatever. But that mistake that you made, it may be the very thing that ignites a passion in you, that maybe you will be the person that helps someone else to see where they, to see areas where they should avoid, or things that they should think about a little bit more fully.
Right.
So in other words, like a mistake could be the thing that's showing you where your passions lie.
Very true. And what you just said made me think, because I talked about it on my page on Words of Wisdom, as far as everything happens for a reason. So when you said, you don't believe in mistakes, I thought about it. I was like, okay, but I should change the word then. but for the most part, everything happens for a reason. So the things that we may consider as mistakes for ourselves, our perception or whatever a mistake is. But we just pretty much just should sit back and just, like I said, not beat ourselves up about it.
Yeah, it's something that points you in a different direction, I would say. And then also, like sometimes people, have regrets and things like that. But it's almost like if you're regretting something, then that means you're not taking responsibility for it in a sense. Like, and when I say responsibility, what I mean is you have the power to make it what you want it to be. So rather than get stuck in the energy of what you saw it as,
Right.
you have the power to change it and make it into something else. So that's where your responsibility comes in. Like, how am I going to make this thing that seemed like it was ugly and hideous and just so traumatic, how can I make it something that's beautiful in my life? Because I'm a powerful creator,
Right.
and I have the power to change it to make it something that works for me.
Right. What you just said, I think I went through those processes. I just didn't realize it probably at the time. But everything as far as what I perceived as not right or I mistake for myself, I really had to change that perception of it and just say, you know what, okay. That's why I was just so easy with it. I never really beat myself up about it. I was like, well, I'm just gonna change it. I mean, I'm just gonna change how I feel about it. It's over with now. I'm gonna move forward. And so I tell anybody, just make sure that you move forward with your life as far as things that you consider to be a mistake for you, because everything is not that. It's not that bad. It's just your perception of it.
Yeah. And then I know sometimes, like our generation and the generations before us, we tend to think that if it wasn't like we're supposed to struggle, like we gotta do some struggle to get to the other side or whatever. And like I'm a firm believer. I want to get to the other side. I want to learn my lessons from something that was good. Like I don't wanna get hit by a brick in order to learn my lesson. Like I want to learn it from something good, something that's fun. Or, I'll learn it from you. Like, you might have had it hard, so I'm going to see what you did. Or whatever. So, if you ran across the street, you got hit by a car, then I might not want to run across the street.
Yeah, exactly.
But truthfully, I say that, but truthfully I'll probably I'll be like, I think I can run faster than him. So.
That's a way to look at it. See, that's another way to look at it.
But that all goes back to really following your inner guidance. So most likely, if you ran across the street and you got hit by the car, I'm gonna be like, I'm not gonna run across the street. But sometimes I will be like, you know what? I'm about to run across the street, but it's because I'm getting in contact with your inner guidance. And I think that's what makes the difference between a mistake where you're just like, oh my God, that was just the worst thing ever, and being okay with how things played out. So following your own inner guidance, maybe I do need to run across the street. There's something that's telling me I need to run across the street. But of course, when we talk about inner guidance, we can't hear that. I'm not going to put limits. I'm not going to say we can't. But typically, in order to hear that, you have to have a quiet mind. So you have to find ways to quiet the chatter that's going on in your mind, quiet the chatter that everybody's telling you what you're supposed to be doing, how you're supposed to be living life, what your life is supposed to look like. I think we've spent our entire lives listening to what other people say our lives are supposed to be like. And we tell everybody else what their lives are supposed to be like.
So the story of a life, right?
And so if we could find ways to get back to our own inner guidance, I can't presume to know what's right for you. And the more I can remember that I don't know what's right for you,
Right.
then I can let you go. I can let you be free. And by the same token, you don't know what's right for me. And as I can remember that and start getting in touch with my inner guidance, then those things that seem like mistakes, things that seem like reasons why we have to struggle, all those things, we can kind of put those to the side.
Right. And what you were just saying, I tried to tell you, were talking about the story of my life.
I'm sorry about that, guys.
But pretty much like my thought process when I was a young adult, right? Like early 20s, and growing up with my mom at the time, her thought process of money was like so lack, just never having enough. And when I got to that age of adulthood, I took on that same belief, and that wasn't for me. For me, it took a lot to realize when I got to that point as to where, that's not my belief system. I don't think like that. Then I got to the point as to where, hey, I don't see it like that. I see it like, shoot, why I got to live in lack for it? I don't want lack. I want abundance, and I started to carry that trait. So for the most part, I would say just living the life that you want to live. You're learning from your mistakes. You can transform those mistakes, and it doesn't have to be something negative. It can be something positive. You sit back and something positive happening, and you just taking a beautiful lesson out of it, and you're like, you know what? But if I feel like this all the time, I know that I can get to X, Y, Z. So it's two flip sides to it. But I would tell anybody, hey, just it's your perception on it, how you view it.
Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah.
For this conversation on mistakes. And so, if you all ever think about things that you feel like you've just done wrong, or you're feeling in regret, you feel like you're carrying regrets or anything like that, just really find the silver lining in it. Transform it into something beautiful, because it is. It happened for you. It's for your growth. It's for your expansion, and it's for the expansion of the universe, really. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Until next time, this is Arvat.
This is Steve. Bye.